With more and more radios coming out, they're adding a lot of digital features, whether it be D-Star, DMR, GPS features for tracking and beaconing, even APRS, TNCs, digipeaters, things of that sort. Great features. However, there are essential settings and a few things that you should keep in mind. You are being tracked. Plus, you can cause a lot of QRM if your settings are not set up correctly. So I'm just going to go through some of the features here, in particular on the ID-52. When you have a digital type radio, great features, makes you do a lot. However, it does increase the chance of what we call QRM, which stands for interference. Interference refers to interference with other radio signals, man-made sources, or other stations. So when there's multiple people trying to use the same frequency at once, it can hinder communication. One example, if one ham radio operator is trying to transmit, but another station is also transmitting on the same frequency, then the first operator's signal might be distorted or completely blocked by the interference. Now, when I'm talking about QRM in particular for this radio, is digital QRM. And there's a lot of digital data that your radio can send out, and it could interfere with someone talking or keeping a repeater tied up with digital data that discourages people to even monitor that repeater. So it's essential that we check our settings every once in a while, especially if you've played with the radio for a while, testing things of the sort, trying different features. You need a little cheat list. So go through the basics settings to be sure the digital QRM settings are properly set. Most of this digital stuff is designed for specific frequency use only or on simplex. So I'm going to show you the basic ones for the Icom ID-52 Plus. Okay, the first feature that you definitely want to check out is your GPS automatic transmission. According to the Icom manual, use the GPS automatic transmission function in only the simplex mode. Using this function through a repeater may interfere with other communications. So I'll show a little video how to navigate to the menu, GPS and GPS auto transmit. GPS automatic transmission. To turn that off, select menu, and then you need to go to GPS, select. Now I'll just scroll to the top, but if you scroll to the bottom, GPS auto transmit, and you have from 30 seconds to 30 minutes. So there you go. That's it. That's the step. Okay, the next feature you want to turn off is auto reply. This function will automatically reply to a call sign addressed to you, even if you're away from the transceiver. So I would strongly recommend turning it off and only putting it on for a dedicated frequency, like simplex or something of that sort. Imagine having 100 or 1,000 people having this feature turned on one repeater. Okay, to access auto reply, hit menu, select set, and then scroll up till you find DV set, which is towards the top, but not quite. And then scroll to the top, auto reply should be off. Okay, the next one is digital voice or DV data transmit. The default is auto, but in my case, I set it for push to talk to manually transmit data. It's going to be quite common. A lot of people have their radios connected to their computer and perhaps software running in the background. You may forget. But I put it to push to talk and put it to auto when you know you're going to be using your PC for a specific activity. While we are in this same area, might as well do the next one. And we're going to look for digital voice or DV data transmit. So we'll scroll down and push to talk. Let me show that again. Push to talk. That's the one you want to select. The next feature is TX delay, push to talk, or transmit delay. The default is 2 seconds. However, I've set mine at off. The reason I do that is that I want my receiver to return to receive mode the very minute I stop transmitting. I guess if there's someone that wants to break into a conversation, you have a good chance of hearing that effort. I think it's a practical feature that you may want to consider. Next one we want is DV fast data, kind of working behind the camera, and we want the TX delay set to off. Digital monitor. Default is auto. I leave it on auto. When you hit the squelch button, it's a button on the side. Let's say you're listening to a repeater and you push the squelch in, it will switch your frequency received to the input of the repeater. So if you, for example, have this auto turned off and it's a digital voice repeater, you will not hear the signal. So auto, it will automatically determine the mode and switch to FM or digital voice. I would just leave it in default. Okay, digital mode. Next one down. And I have it set for auto. Digital repeater set. Default is on. I guess this is the advantage of having digital radios. They have some smarts. So if this function is turned on, and it will read the repeater's transmit signal and automatically set the repeater call sign. Next one down is digital repeater set. I have it set on. DV digital voice auto detect default is off, which is what I usually leave it on. For example, let's say the advantage of it, you're monitoring a frequency and you're on FM mode, and then someone transmits on digital voice. Well, it will receive and that station will be heard. However, noise, QRM, things of the sort, could cause that switching back and forth, especially when you're scanning. It'll stop more frequently. Again, we're looking for menu set, DV auto detect. have it set on off, which is the default. This is where we have more smarts. Auto repeater, default on duplex. Myself, I use on duplex and tone. It will automatically turn the duplex operation and tone encoder. So your settings are correct when you're accessing the repeater. Okay, this is where we have to get out of this section. We're going to go to menu, and then we're going to go to set, and we're going to look for function, which we scroll down, and let's go all the way back up, and we're going to be looking for auto repeater, and on dupe is the default, but I've find this works on dupe and tone. Receive call sign, default is normal. In digital voice mode, it will display the call sign and messages of the caller station when a call is received. When you're on a repeater where activity is low, you can put a lot of information available on your screen. However, on a busy repeater, the display will fall behind with the conversations going on. So you may decide to put it on off if that becomes a problem. And I believe mine is set to normal so far. Okay, we need to step out of this menu again. We go to setting, and this time we go to display. And let me just screen to the top. Receive call sign. Let's see where that is. There we go. Receive call sign. Default is normal. Receive position indicator. It will show your position data if it's included in the received signal. Default is on. This is a feature that tied in with other settings like receive call sign. Again, this could be a privacy issue for some, so keep that in mind. I know on the ham bands itself, the radios, I don't think is a problem, but you never know who's listening. Okay, see, we are in the right setting. Let's scroll down to the next one. It's going to be called Receive Position Indicator. And default is on. Okay, receive position display. You have options to on your main or sub, either mode that you're in. And it's also tied in with another setting, receive position display timer setting. If you have it too long and there's several stations chatting about the same time, that display can fall behind. So you may want to be sure your timer is set short enough. Okay. We're going to look for receive position display. And here you have the option of main or sub or main only. I usually have it main only, but I'll leave it at default. Not critical. If you're doing dual band display, then you may want this. I usually have only one. Digital voice receive backlight. The backlight will automatically light on when a calling station call sign or message is being received, which is ideal if you're in a dark environment and or the unit is asleep. You'll be able to wake up the screen. Again, You want to keep that in mind if you're running off battery or DC, because it can drain the battery quicker. The next essential is TV receive backlight. And default is on, and I use on. There you go. Transmit call sign. Default is your call sign. I basically tried both off and on, and your call sign works for me. You may want to decide that for yourself. Depends what you want to see scrolling on your screen, I guess. Next one is TX call sign. The default is your call sign, and that's what I use. Standby beep. And the default is, to me, alarm high and tone, which is what I use. I know when I'm recording, I have to turn it off, especially if the radio is on next to my recording equipment. So it basically allows you to have an identifiable tone when you are receiving a call, and when there's a call made directly to your call sign. So I guess the default, it works, but turn it off if you're recording and you have the radio on. Oh, one thing to keep in mind, even though you got your volume turned off, that beep will beep at the settings that you set for the beep. So turning the volume down won't mute it. Okay, we need to back out, and we're going to go to sound. As I was hitting the back key, you don't have to hit menu to do it. I go to sound, and I'm looking for standby beep. There we go. This way, when your call sign is received, only disadvantage for me at times is when I'm recording, even though I've got the volume turned down, you'll hear a beep. But I'll leave it there. Okay, here's the pros and cons of having dual band radio full duplex. If you have the function off and both of your bands have activity, you'll receive both at the same time, though my understanding is one will be lowered depending which band or subband you're in. That usually doesn't happen in my area because of the activity is not that great. But it's there for you. Okay, the final one is the subband mute. I leave it off. Well, this is what I call the essentials, at least the ones I kind of want to verify is always correctly set to reduce the possibility of QRM. And I'm sure there's many other settings. Hopefully this info was beneficial. If so, it would be appreciated if you subscribe, and thumbs up would also be great. Have a nice day.